welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your number one resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. I know we've skipped Tuesday Newsday for a couple weeks now, but honestly, that's because I kind of just got tired of talking about Quest updates every week. And I've been spending some time working on my bigger videos like building the very first real-life Ready Player One VR setup. But now we're back with some really interesting VR news. A ton of meta VR headset prototypes with the goal of making VR indistinguishable from reality. The standards of the metaverse moving forward are now being set by the same group that created OpenXR. Of course, we got Valve Deckard leaks, and we have some good news regarding some new VR games. All that and so much more, let's just get right into the news. Let's start off with something that on the surface may seem a little boring, but in reality is kind of one of the biggest things that's ever happened to VR and more properly the XR industry. A couple years ago, I talked about the Khronos group, a consortium of key players across the XR industry ranging from Valve to Sony to Razer even, all with the primary task of creating OpenXR, a royalty-free open standard that makes software development across any and all VR headsets way easier. And it's been very successful. OpenXR is pretty much everywhere, and it's kind of the backbone of most modern VR software. But we've already talked about OpenXR. The Khronos group is onto something potentially even bigger. They recently once again got together with a distinguished list of founding members from Meta to Microsoft, Qualcomm, and IKEA to cooperate and build what they call the Metaverse Standards Forum, focusing on creating an open, inclusive, and interoperable metaverse. A quote from the group: "We are backing the open standard bricks for the metaverse, not building the cathedral," end quote. Khronos Group is essentially doing what we all wanted, getting together the largest players in XR to build an open metaverse, not on the back of any single company, which is awesome. And you can actually join these forums and conversations if you'd like to take part in building this open metaverse with the Khronos Group. I'll have the links in the description, just some really exciting and positive news to start the day off. But now let's get into these Meta prototypes. Meta has a goal when it comes to virtual reality, stating themselves that they want to make VR indistinguishable from reality. And to do that, they've coined the term visual Turing test, when humans subjectively cannot tell the difference between reality and virtual reality, something both exciting and terrifying. And they're actually on their way to doing just that. Last week, Meta did something really interesting and pretty unexpected. They showed off 4 VR headset prototypes, each one of them pushing the boundaries as far as possible in one particular region each. And I'll get into these individually, but really what this showed is that making a VR headset significantly better than what we currently have is just gonna be really hard. So far, the VR industry has more or less piggybacked off of mobile phone technology, from displays to IMUs to processors, which has made decent VR relatively cheap with parts already in mass production. But if we want to get much better VR headsets, smartphone displays and repurposed silicon just isn't gonna do it, which is what these prototypes show. VR has a lot of obstacles, especially visually, if we want to get VR much better. So each of these prototypes tackles one of VR's major visual problems. Let me just wipe this all clean and explain from the top. There are 5 main aspects of a VR headset's visuals that govern how realistic and immersive something will look: field of view, clarity, depth of field / focus, light, and of course, comfort and form factor. These 4 prototypes Meta announced are representative of individual tests to push each of these categories to the absolute maximum, usually at the detriment of another category. You can kind of think of headset attributes as a pentagon. As field of view increases, clarity decreases as there's significantly more distortion. As depth of field increases, realistic light decreases, as does clarity. As clarity increases, field of view and depth of field decrease. I think you get the idea. So learning the limits of every category and seeing what's realistic to us is crucial to seeing where trade-offs make sense. One of the prototypes, Butterscotch, is one of the first human-eye resolution headsets, hitting 60 pixels per degree across the entire field of view, allowing for 20/20 vision within VR, the difference between a Rift, Quest 2, and Butterscotch shown here. But this is at the detriment of field of view, Butterscotch only having about half of the field of view of the Quest 2. The next prototypes being the well-known Half Dome 0 through 3. These headsets specialize in focus, using various varifocal lenses to give objects true depth, and to make looking through the lenses of a VR headset much more natural, like looking through with your eyes. Meta was using physically manually adjusting lenses to do this, but they're now experimenting with silent, solid-state voltage shifting lenses that adjust focal depth. This is arguably one of the biggest shifts that will make standard VR far more realistic, but it's not my favorite one. This prototype, however, is, and it's particularly made to test light and high dynamic range content in VR. So how dark is black and how bright is direct light? You may be surprised, but a standard VR headset's displays can hardly reproduce 100 nits of brightness even while staring at a virtual sun, whereas this prototype can reach levels 200 times brighter at 20,000 nits. Brighter than staring directly at an indoor LED light, and also brighter than pretty much any normal display. And this actually evokes a physical response of the pupil, contracting to make environments look far more believable and also tricking your brain. We don't realize it now, but VR headsets displays are actually really dim, especially after going through the lenses. You just lose a lot of light. And the more light there is, the more realistic everything will look. And finally, we got to see HoloCake 2, a super small form factor proof of concept using holographic lenses to solve the other problem, of course. A headset needs to be small and comfortable. So really, I'm pretty excited that Meta is pushing the engineering side of VR headset development this far. To be honest, there's only a few companies in the world that are doing anything like this. So hats off, and I'm excited to see where this eventually will all lead. The VR industry really has to level up and do its own engineering and create its own standards rather than just adopt existing technology. And I'm pretty pumped to see where Meta's gonna take this, but I still got my eye on you, Mark. And now it's time for a meme break! Tolerating the existence of low-spec VR games. Killing off VR by making it unaffordable. PC VR snobs. Well, I found this one kind of funny, but not because of the joke. One, because, well, I haven't actually seen this happen. Most people are just happy to have more people in VR regardless of headset. Plus, you know, like the Quest 2 is a PC VR headset, you just gotta have a PC as well. And also, the industry was doing just fine before Quest and Quest 2. It's not like it would die without them. There are just many millions more Quest 2 owners now, so of course developers have shifted to make games where people are at. Either way, gatekeeping can happen on both sides. We're all into VR, doesn't matter if you got a Vive or Quest or Index or your VR list, there's no need to be a butt about it. Instead, we can just all cry together at jokes like this. Guys, everything's fine, right? And now, back to the news. Before we talk about Valve Deckard leaks, let's talk about some new games and some new game updates. Honestly, this is probably the real #1 problem with current VR. There just aren't that many good games around that hold your attention for long, but it's on its way up, starting with a massive update for Zenith, the VR MMORPG that released earlier this year. It did have a crazy concurrent player count, but then as the content dried up, Zenith slowly lost most of its player base, but this update may change that, bringing supposedly dozens of hours of content, including 6 new dungeons, 20 new main story quests, matchmaking, new map regions, new armor sets, and new enemies called the Celestial Throne update. And I'm definitely looking forward to hopping in. It's been a while since I've played Zenith, and some new content is definitely welcomed. Plus, it's free. Demeo, one of my favorite VR games of all time, also got a pretty huge update, bringing new playable characters to the tabletop RPG, including a new adventure to play through with new enemies, abilities, items, etc. Honestly, this is just one of my favorite games to play with friends, and it's a free update bringing more to the game, so yeah, I'd love to see it. So, I love No Man's Sky, and I've always appreciated that No Man's Sky has VR support at all, but the current VR support is pretty bad, honestly. Built to work mostly with the first PlayStation VR, even though No Man's Sky should be pretty much the largest VR game ever made, it's just really not meant to be played with the PC VR headset and 6-DoF controllers, at least not as well as it should. But Hello Games just recently announced that they will be updating the game for PSVR 2, taking that sense of immersion and believability up by several major notches, end quote. Now, given that the PC version of the game has received all of the same patches as the PC VR version, it's a pretty safe bet that when Hello Games does improve and fix the game for proper VR support, that the Steam version will get it as well, which I can't wait for. And also it'll be live on PSVR 2. The game is so close to probably being one of the best and largest VR games out there, it just needs a little more love, and it looks like we'll be getting just that. VAIL, an upcoming VR FPS game, also the game that you've been seeing in this video, is coming to closed beta in just a few days on July 1st. I've actually been working pretty closely with the VAIL team as an advisor on their project because, well, not many companies are really focusing on making a true competitive game in VR, which is personally just a dream for me. It's the kind of games that I enjoy. So like I said, they're launching their closed beta in just a few days and hosting a a pretty massive tournament later this summer with a $35,000 prize pool. So if you're interested, request access on Steam and wishlist, or join up in their Discord, or watch one of my Twitch streams to get a key. Definitely excited to finally see the community play VAIL soon. Plus, it's a free-to-play game. Like, come on, it's awesome. But now on to the Valve Deckard leaks. Sadly, it's Bradley recently created a mega post on a pretty massive information leak regarding Valve's supposed standalone VR headset. Bradley saying, quote, "The stuff they purposely let out to us feels eerily similar to when Valve let out information that they were working on a handheld gaming PC, i.e. the Steam Deck. The leaks are basically a ton of pretty surface level stuff with a few patents, but when put all together, well, things are starting to look a little clearer. A new theater system to replace the currently janky one that we've had for too long, possibly enabling something similar to a remote play with virtual couches to play games with people virtually. Also, an actual log of the processor cores being used in a real Valve Deckard were found. The files named Deckard and showing what looks to be an ARM-based processor similar to the Quest XR2. Also found were a ton of Valve internal menus hinting at something very new Steam VR experience-wise, including a new place-based configurator that could be done entirely with the headset on, and new skyboxes. The latest utility patent for the Deckard details hardware communication with the displays and the back of the headset, which is the computer housing, and that sounds very Deckard to me. So this was just another info drop on Valve's headset. We still have absolutely no idea when or really if this headset's coming, but my bets are that it will be coming within the next, I don't know, decade. We're on Valve time, remember? I mean, I still haven't gotten my Steam Deck yet, so it's pretty fair to say that in terms of hardware production, Valve probably have their hands full at the moment. But I guess if I could have a dream Valve Deckard, I'd definitely be asking for a high resolution panel, wider field of view, face tracking, eye tracking, built-in hand tracking, and some sort of mobile usage, of course. I'd love to just have one headset to rule them all. And of course, I want it to be wireless. But I can dream all I want, we'll just have to keep looking for these Deckard leaks or wait for an official release. And for this week's question of the week, I'll just ask you guys, what is your dream of a Valve Deckard? If this actually comes out, what would make you actually buy it? Or is there something else entirely that you're excited about? And that's question of the week. Ask me one down below and answer this one, and I may just answer yours next week. And I'm definitely glad to have Tuesday Newsday back. I missed it and I missed you guys. But join up in my Discord server for some awesome community events. I'd love to see you in there and chat about VR stuff. I also wanted to say thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas. I couldn't do any of this without you guys. But don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out. Oh, also, if you like VR, then maybe you'll like this video. I made the very first real-life Ready Player One setup. Definitely go check it out. See ya.